Jaguars.com coverage from the NFL Scouting Combine continues. J.P. Shadrick, John Osher, and Jags head coach Doug Pederson making the Radio Row rounds. Thank you for making a stop on your tour today, Coach.
You bet. Yeah, it's exciting. Everything's kind of kicking off for 23, and, great place to be.
Let's start off with looking back to the tail end of the 22 season and the playoff run. A couple weeks away, maybe not even that long for you and the coaching staff, but when you get back in the office, how much do you look back at what happened, especially in the second half of the season, your self-evaluation, self-scout? What stood out in a good and maybe not so good way about your team last season?
I think it's definitely my job to look at kind of the whole big picture, right? From as I say, soup to nuts, right? I mean, it's everything, and how we started, how we finished, right? And you always want to be finishing faster and stronger at the end of the year than when you started. So for me as the head coach, I think that's what I have to focus on and look at as we're breaking down our schemes again, right, in the offseason. So all three phases, all the coordinators, coaches are looking at schemes. How can we be better? How can we be more efficient? And then, for me personally, just how this young football team embraced the things that I was teaching them, what I was kind of preaching in the team settings and the team meetings, how we overcame some adversity. We had a bad mid part of our season there where we didn't win a game for 5 or 6 weeks, and but the guys never wavered, and so that's the part that I think as we look ahead to 23 that we can really kind of hang our hats on, we kind of focus on, and build upon those, even though we have to get better as a football team, and we understand that. But a lot of positives.
I know you didn't love October, but
yeah,
but in retrospect, could that be a good thing for this team moving forward? That it learned from that and learned how to withstand that and showed that it could.
I think it's great. I do think that it's something we can learn from. It other than the Detroit game, which was a little bit later, we didn't get blown out of those games. Those were like one-score games. So there's a lot of encouragement there. There's a lot of things that if we just – that's what I kept telling our football team. If we just take care of these little details, hang on to the football, let's not make these types of mistakes. We got to finish better. Whatever it was for that particular week, let's clean that up, and we're going to be fine as we move down the schedule, and so that was a positive, and it's going to be a positive as we continue to build.
The last time we were sitting at this table, we were talking about culture a lot this time last year, and it was so important to build that even beyond the playoff run. I would think you've got to be thrilled with how that sits right now and what you're able to get done in that direction.
I am thrilled. I'm happy of where the team is, not only how we finished, but we've built that foundation, that culture foundation, and I think the past is behind us, and there's a lot of exciting times in front of us, and we've got the right pieces, we got the right leadership, coaches, players, front office staff, Trent Baalke and his guys, and great ownership in Shad that, being able to give us the resources we need to continue the success that we started this season. And nothing is – I learned this a long, long time ago. Nothing's ever going to be handed to us. We got to go out and earn it. You got to earn respect in this league, and I think we're still trying to earn that respect just a little bit.
Head coach Doug Pederson with us. Couple of changes on the coaching staff, though, this year. You added in wide receiver coach Chad Hall, passing game coordinator Nick Holes. So where do you find these guys? And then when the team plays well – that happens from time to time. There can be turnover in a coaching staff underneath you, and how do you adjust and move ahead?
Well, as a head coach, it's one of the things you have got to stay on top of is the coaching cycle because, yes, you're right. The more success that we have as a team, other new head coaches are going to come and poach your staff, and so you're always looking for the next guy. Chad Hall was actually a player when I was with Coach Reed in Philadelphia who we coached. And so he's been a player in this league. Obviously, he's been in Buffalo these past few years, and just a coach that's got a lot of energy. He's coached some really good top receivers. Stephon Diggs, one of the top receivers, in our league. He's coached him. So he brings a lot of expertise there. And so for me, he was the guy that I really wanted to go after and target. And then in Nick's case, This is someone that was on my radar screen a year ago when I was looking at staff guys to hire, and so it came full circle this year to be able to get him. He's been in the NFL for many years. He was a coordinator last year at UNLV, and he knows a lot of offense. Young guy, again, energetic, very smart, understands the details of what we're teaching, and we got to get them both caught up on our system, but looking forward to both of them.
You talked so much during the season about a potential jump in the second year under your offense, not only for Trevor, but for the whole offense. How much do you believe in that? I know it doesn't happen naturally. What do you guys have to do to get that year two jump, if you will?
Well, I think it starts in the off season. I think it's a matter of the guys, sacrificing their time to be in the building, to work together, for Trevor, to get our guys in the building and start. You got to start over, right? You got to start over, and preaching that is just that. You got to go back to day one, right? And it's like we've never been together before, and that's how you got to get this thing done. And in order to win, a championship, and you look at what Coach Reed and the success he's had in his career, Bill Belichick in his career in New England, there's consistency there, and there's almost like a reset button, and it's coaches, players, it's the entire organization that, listen, as great as last year was, man, it's done. It's over. We're moving on. We're focused. It's my job to hold our feet to the fire, as they say, keep pushing our players to be successful. Don't pull back. Don't take the pads off in training camp when it's the right thing to do is keep the pads on. And that builds the character and the culture that you want.
Quarterback play specifically, obviously first half of the season, interceptions, some fumbles, turnovers, the London turning point was the thing a lot of people turned to. And, of course, the second half of the season, he was fantastic. So moving ahead now for Trevor, after a strong statistical season and all the success and wins and losses at the end of the year, what is the next step? What will this look like next year for the quarterback? What should it look like for him?
Well, I think you're going to see better consistency with him, especially in the passing game, and it's about getting through his progressions, understanding the defense better, and then that comes from coaching too. We've got to coach him in those areas and help him get better there. But I think you'll see that jump and that more consistent play out of Trevor, and he's a guy too that we can find unique and creative ways to run the football. I think the toe injury we had to pull back a little bit in that area, but I think that's something that we can use to our advantage. So that could be something that we look at. But overall, just the consistency in his play is going to be probably the one thing that people notice the most, and that comes too with just protecting the football and doing the right thing there.
How much will continuity with receivers, which he's going to have for the first time in 2 or 3 years, first time ever in the NFL? I've got to think that's huge.
It's really everything in the passing game. Number one, having Christian Zay, we'll see what happens with Marv. Obviously, he's a free agent, but Evan the same way. But if we can get those guys back, we also got some young, talented practice squad players that we really are excited about watching. And but having Christian and Zay back healthy, and just the way they operate on a daily basis. You've seen them practice. You know how they approach the game. They're professionals about it, and that's also going to help our quarterback become, a better player in 23.
I've got to ask you, and I'm not sure you ever asked this during the season because you're in real time during that. What's the year like been for you in terms of getting to know the fan base, feeling like you're the coach of the Jaguars? I think overall a pretty cool year, certainly helped by the late season run, but where are you at with that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me. 21 was big to take a step away, from the game to sort of refocus and recharge, and then to come here in Jacksonville and to be around the type of men that we assembled as a staff, and working with Trent Baalke and obviously the team, it just rejuvenates you even more, and you just got a spirit that you just want to keep pouring yourself into these players and keep watching, because I know there's more out there for us, and that's what I was trying to teach the team, as the season progressed. There's more for us. There's bigger and better, and every team every year is wanting to win a world championship. Only one team can do it, and ultimately we want to be one of those teams.
What is the head coach's role in the next couple months in the pre-draft process? Trent Baalke kind of leads the charge, I'm sure, and his staff. But, I mean, you're in on interviews, obviously, here at the Combine. You're in everything involved somewhat. How much do you want to be involved? How much are you involved?
Besides working on my golf game, no. It's one thing I really appreciate about Trent. He really – wants our input, wants my input as a head coach. We watch a lot of film together, which was new to me last year, and so that's something we're going to, here in the next month and a half, really dive into the film and really start fine-tuning our board a little bit that way and having input from the staff. And that's really what these next several weeks are going to look like, not only for me but for the staff in general, and then also I got to get ready for OTAs, the off-season program April 7th. I got to prepare for training camp. We got to prepare for the opening of a new building.
Yep.
So there's a lot on our plate, or my plate. I think this spring and summer that are all exciting things again, and it's going to be great for our players when we do finally open up our sports performance center.
Yeah, I'm curious about the film watching. Like, does Trent say, hey, come over, we're going to watch these 5 guys and this amount of tape on each guy? I mean, take us through that process.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, you just get in there 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you just start cranking over tape, and you have dialogue. You watch 3, 4, 5 games on players, and then what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And just having that dialogue, and then you can set your board that way. I have great, meaningful conversation, and you just do that process for however many guys, in each day, and you just do that until you have all your questions answered on every player that's on your board, and ultimately you get work yourself to draft day.
And you want to get to the point where you're not sitting there arguing on draft day.
Exactly. Yeah. We're united.
Right.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. The Miller Electric Center opening later this summer. Is there a date for that? A move-in date? Do you guys know about?
Well, as far as we know, the end of June is when I think it's going to be, finished. Obviously, that's usually our summer vacation, and we're away, and so when we come back somewhere, mid-July, we should be moving in. Our things will be packed up in our offices now, moved over there, and we'll spend a couple days moving in and working the bugs out with all the new technology, and we'll have a lot of smiles on our faces. Being able to have a window will be kind of nice.
How about that?
Not a lot of those at the bank.
No, not at all. Hey, Doug, thanks for the time. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Doug, fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Head coach Doug Pederson with us here at the NFL Scouting Combine.